What's up, folks? Jonathan here. Thought I'd do something really out of the ordinary and weird. I'm going to show you how I make my jambalaya. Jambalaya is a Cajun dish. It's a Creole dish also. I'll explain the difference of those two here in a second, but it's basically very similar to each other. And I kind of have my own spin on it. I kind of make it a little different. And that's the cool thing about jambalaya. It's really, you can pretty much do whatever you want as long as you stick to the basics. And yeah. So first, I'm going to go over what I got here on the counter. This right here is chopped celery and a chopped white onion, and right behind it is chopped green bell peppers. Those three ingredients are known as the Holy Trinity of Cajun and Creole cooking. You gotta have the celery, you gotta have the onion, and you gotta have the bell pepper. So yeah, those three things started off. Then let's see, you're gonna need some olive oil, some butter, some garlic. Of course, you need rice. It is basically a rice dish. And then you can use chicken stock, or you can do like me and be lazy and go cheap and do the chicken bouillon cubes. And then I got like the cheapest Cajun seasoning I can find. Smoked paprika, bay leaves, pepper. Now, this is something that isn't normally in jambalaya, but I've found that for the folks here that eat it, including myself, we actually like to add oyster sauce and fish sauce. And then there's the Worcestershire. Okay, now the tomato thing is where we get to the difference of Creole and Cajun cooking. Cajun cooking does not have tomatoes in it. Creole cooking does. I like the tomatoes myself, so I'm going with that. And as you can see, there's a can of Rotel on top, which is basically just more diced tomatoes and has green chilies in it. I found that adds a little to it, so that's part of my customization, I guess you could say. Now, the protein part of jambalaya, the meat, is basically open to anything you want to use. Traditionally, you'll find andouille sausage. I don't have any andouille sausage on hand, but I do have smoked sausage, which in my opinion works just fine. If you use any protein in your jambalaya, just make sure that whatever meat it is, that it is cooked before you put it into the mix. You don't want to put raw meat in there. I wouldn't anyways. But, hey, if you want to use, chicken, make sure it's cooked. You could use anything weird. You could use squirrel or possum. Hell, I don't know. But just whatever you get your hands on, meat-wise, you could throw it in there. Ham. If you're going to use seafood like shrimp, I would wait until the last 10 minutes of this pot cooking before I'd put the shrimp in there, because shrimp cooks really fast, and if you overcook it, it shrinks, turns into rubber. But yeah, I'm not using seafood today. I'm using sausage. So, all right, I'm gonna get the Holy Trinity in the pot here. I'm using a Dutch oven. It is basically cast iron coated in ceramic. The reason I like to use this is because it goes in the oven, and so I can cook it on the stovetop, and then when I'm ready, I can stick the whole thing in the oven. So you have to have a heavy pan with a tight fitting lid, or a heavy lid, and that's what I'm going with today. So hang on just a second, and we'll get it going. All right, so I put the Holy Trinity chopped into the Dutch oven pot. with about 3 tablespoons of butter and maybe a tablespoon or two of olive oil. There's really no hard and fast way to do this, no tight rules. You just kind of feel it out, but that's what I've done so far. So you got to let these veggies cook down and get soft. So meanwhile, while that's happening, I'm going to chop up this smoked sausage, because what I want to do is I want to brown it in my iron skillet, because that adds a layer of flavor, as they say. You don't have to brown it. You could just, chop it up and use it the way it is, but I find that it's a little tastier if you do that. So I'm going to chop this up and we'll get to browning. So, hang on. Alright, so I chopped it up, the sausage, and I've got it in an iron skillet, and I'm going to brown it. And meanwhile, I'm over here still cooking down the veggies. Alright, next step in a second. Alright, so see the meat's browning, turn the heat down. Veggies are doing good, so now I'm going to start adding some stuff. I'm going to go with the oyster sauce. Maybe, a tablespoon. Oyster sauce. A little Worcestershire. Maybe a tablespoon or two. You can see I'm real scientific with this. Fish sauce. Several glugs. And then we got some minced garlic. Here, let's double that up. Yeah. Garlic's good. Alright, let's throw in some smoked paprika. Maybe a tablespoon, I don't know. Like I said, you gotta go with it, man. Cajun seasoning. You really can't use too much of this. Just remember, in this stuff there's a lot of salt, and the bouillon cubes I'm going to use have a lot of salt in them, so you don't want to get too salty. I'm just going to throw all that in there. All right, I'm out of Cajun seasoning now. That should do. Let's do some black pepper. Couple of bay leaves. Now we're going to dump in a can of Rotel, which again is really just diced tomatoes and green chilies. And then a can of regular diced tomatoes. Yes, I like tomatoes. Who knew? And I threw in a few tomatoes from my garden that I had laying around that I think were probably going to get weird pretty soon. So threw those in. I'm going to put in 3 bouillon cubes of chicken, which, like I said, you could use chicken stock, but I'm using bouillon cubes. Now I'm going to do about 1.5 cups of rice. This is not instant rice. This is regular old cheap rice that takes a while to cook, okay? Not using minute rice or anything like that. Now when it comes to spice, traditionally jambalaya can be pretty spicy. But, that's really up to you if you like spice or not. Traditionally you would use cayenne pepper and put that in there, which is, as it says on the label, very hot and pungent. But not everybody likes heat. So what I do is I just don't add it. And then whenever when it's done and you put some in your own personal bowl, then you can heat it up however you want, usually with a hot sauce. I have Tabasco here. I know there's another brand called Crystal, which is more traditional, and it's very good. But Tabasco's good too. So yeah, that's what I've got. And of course, you have the crushed red pepper. Same kind of stuff you like put on your pizza or whatever. So you could add this later. You could add it now. Whatever. I have, used jalapenos and throw that in there. But yeah, that's pretty non-traditional. But I'm not a traditional guy anyways. I make my own rules, right? So yeah, I'm not going to add any heat. I'm just going to leave that up to the person with their own personal bowl. Okay, so I added my sausage, which I browned, and put that in. That's about 2 pounds, a little less than 2 pounds. But yeah, you can put however much meat you want in there. It's yours. So now I'm going to add water, and I kind of like to eyeball it. Let's see. I'm going to say that's about 6 cups of water. Yeah. You're really better off to have more water than not enough, because if you don't have enough, your rice isn't going to get done. And if you have too much, really, as this thing sits and cools after it cooks, it kind of thickens up naturally anyways. So, yeah. And then I have one secret ingredient, which is extremely non-traditional. I'm going to get it. Okay, so my weird ingredient is what we here in the States call rotel dip. Yes, this is the stuff that you make for tailgating or munching out snacks. It is Velveeta processed cheese mixed with a can of rotel, which is tomatoes and chili peppers. And I'm going to add some of this cheese rotel dip over here. I happen to think it adds a certain texture, a slight cheesy rice flavor. So yeah, I'm gonna, and again, this is extremely non-traditional. A lot of people would say if with Cajun cooking this would be sacrilegious, which is fine by me because, I'm not religious anyways. Don't care about it. I do what I want. Alright. So yeah, that doesn't look very appetizing, does it? Ha! I'm going to give this a stir. Alright, I gave it a stir. I'm going to put the lid on it. Turn the burner off. I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm going to put this in the oven for, 45 minutes to an hour. Let's see what happens. Alright, so we baked it for about 50 minutes. And I already stirred it up. And I'm letting it set. And yeah, looks great. I'm gonna get a bowl. Let's try it. And do not eat the bay leaves. You must take them out. Take them out. There's the other one. Alright. Let me get the hot sauce. Alright. Threw some Tabasco on there. Let's give it a taste. Yeah, it looks really hot. I'm gonna burn my mouth. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's good. It's fairly cheap to make. It's easy. Goes a long way. So, give it a shot. Adios.